welcome into Sportszone. I am your host, Alec Rapp. The Kansas Jayhawks are on top of the world. They overcame a 16-point deficit, the largest in NCAA title game history, to take down the North Carolina Tar Heels for their first championship since 2008. Joining me now to discuss last night's championship game, I've got James Baker and Parker Smith. How's it going?
I woke up feeling like a champion this morning because my Kansas Jayhawks are back on top of the world after 14 long years. So it is a wonderful day.
I had no dog in the race, so I'll let Parker have all of his excitement today.
Of course, that was quite the game, guys. It really was. North Carolina, they were up 40-25 at halftime. They had a 16-1 run in that first half. Second half, Kansas makes some adjustment. They come out, they win the game. I'm going to start with you, James, because I know exactly how he feels. What were your thoughts on the game?
So my thoughts were, as an 8 seed, North Carolina definitely showed that they meant to be there.
Yeah.
Going up, 15 plus points on 1 seeds twice in the tournament, beating Baylor in overtime, their luck just ran out. And in order to win a national championship, you have to be clutch. And they just did not perform well in the clutch last night.
They did not, Parker.
It was a Bill Self masterclass in the second half. It was the way he had the team come out, DeJuan Harris playing defense. We had Jalen Wilson with the hustle. Christian Braun was getting out in the open floor. And let me tell you, there's nothing like a shot of Remy Martin in the evening. My goodness, he was special. That sidestep three to put us up 3 with about 2 minutes left in the game. Woo! There was nothing like it. It was an amazing game. It was from start to finish. I really thought it was over in the first half. I had my head on the table like this. I was ready to go home, but man, Bill Self got the puppies organized, and we got it done.
They certainly did, and Remy, of course, he's finally not breaking Kansas's heart. Yeah. And, he helps them win the title game. So I want to talk, the final 3 minutes took 17 minutes to play. Yeah. And the final 40 seconds, there was a lot that went on. You have Manick passing it out of bounds with just over 3 seconds left. And then the next play, DeJuan Harris steps out of bounds.
Which gave me a heart attack. A heart attack.
Any Kansas fan, I think it would have, because you're setting North Carolina up on that side of the court for a perfect 3. Of course, they don't make it. I want to know, James, what was the game-defining moment for you?
Oh, that's tough. I honestly want to say going into halftime, being up that much, Kansas, they're a really good, polished team. They went into that locker room, and they were ready to be in business coming out of that second half. So I think if it was kind of a closer game, I don't think Kansas would have had that motivation to come back out there and just completely dominate the way they did.
So I'm going to go a couple different directions. As I stated earlier, the Remy Martin 3 to put us up, that was definitely the best shot of the game. However, we look later in the game, there's about a minute left. We see Armando Bacot twist his ankle and the floor collapses underneath his foot. David McCormick comes back down on the other end and gets an easy post hook on Brady Manick, who is nowhere near the caliber of interior defense that Armando Bacot possesses. Yeah. So, I don't know what was going on there. It was a little fishy, but I think that, along with the Remy Martin 3, were both turning points in the game.
I think that's part of playing in a football stadium. You should probably play somewhere that they play basketball, but of course, I get you want to sell tickets. I want to take a look at the tournament as a whole. There were a lot of really good players. Parker, was there one that really stood out as the best player for you?
Yeah, for me, it was Kansas's own Ochai Agbaji, who won Most Outstanding Player at the end of this tournament. He was consistent through and through. He had like 6 threes in that Villanova game, and to be honest, you could maybe make an argument for somebody like Paolo or somebody like Caleb Love, who came up short last night, but I think you have to go with someone from the winning team, and Ochai Agbaji was our best player all year long, so I think you have to give it to him.
Is there somebody that stood out for you?
So I'm going to go a little bit of a different route, and don't kill me. You guys already got the win. But Harry Manick made people fear the beard the entire tournament. He was just dominant on the boards, was still scoring. He made North Carolina into North Carolina again. So I think you really got to give it to him.
Definitely. I want to ask very quickly, guys, North Texas, they don't make the dance this year. What do they need to do to make it next year, Parker?
I think, so you just mentioned Offset, that we just got a recruit to come in, a transfer from, I believe, New Hampshire.
Yes.
The transfer portal is going to be huge for North Texas. We're not a school that recruits very highly out of high school. because, like, obviously we're not going to get any top 100 players to come to our program. However, the transfer portal is going to be big for us, and just maintaining that talent, building them up through 4 years and becoming an experienced team.
It certainly will. Well, sadly, the final game is over and the best sporting event in the world. It's officially concluded, but good news for you Dallas Mavericks fans, because they are 14-4 against playoff teams, and they have just 11 days until the first round of the NBA playoffs. More on that coming up. The Dallas Mavericks have officially punched their tickets to the NBA playoffs, and they're just one win away from hitting their 50th win on the year, the first time since 2015. Joining me now to discuss the Dallas Mavericks, I have Caleb Blanton and Brendan O'Donnell. How's it going?
Going really good.
Pretty good.
So guys, the Mavericks, they've clinched this playoff spot, and it's really no secret. The playoffs haven't been very kind, specifically the first round. The past 2 years for the Mavericks, if we want to be really specific, the Clippers have been the kryptonite for the Dallas Mavericks. Right now, they're slated to play the Nuggets, but if they move up to the 3 seed, it's the Jazz. Brendan, can they finally get out of the first round?
I think they can. And speaking of not getting out of the first round, if you want to get even more specific, it's been a decade. They haven't made it out of the first round since the 2011 championship game.
Yeah.
So while the Clippers have beat them pretty badly the last 2 years, Mavs fans have had it bad for a long time now. But looking at the seeding right now, they're chilling at the 4 seed, 1 game behind the 3 seed, and the Nuggets right behind them, behind by 2 games, I believe. I don't think the Nuggets have any chance of catching them, so they're not going to be surpassed in the 4 seed. But looking at Golden State at the 3, I think they could take it. Golden State's got to play LA, San Antonio, and New Orleans. And they only need to lose one of those games because the Mavericks right now have the tiebreaker between them. And the Mavericks have to go against Detroit, Portland, and San Antonio. Now, the San Antonio game, it's back and forth. They're a little bit of a rivalry within Texas, but that Detroit and Portland game, 2 of the worst teams in the NBA right now. I think they could sweep all 3 of these games, move up to that 3 seed, go against the Jazz, who right now are self-imploding.
Yeah.
They have lost many of their games recently. So I believe that if they go against the Jazz, easy 4-1, 4-2 series for them. The Nuggets, though, is going to be a lot harder, seeing as how we only have Dwight Powell to really try to defend Jokic. And I don't know how well that's going to go.
Yeah. Caleb, do you think they get out of the first round?
Oh, definitely. They're slated to play the Nuggets, like you said, and I think they can beat them with how Brunson's been playing, and obviously Luka. Obviously, he plays so good. So I think they can definitely make it out the first round. We'll see if they can go farther than that, but definitely.
Yeah, I think this is the Mavs team. This is probably the best team that Luka has been on in his career, and they have 3 really good guards. So I want to ask, Caleb, looking at the Mavs in the playoffs, who do they need to rely on to get past that first round?
Yeah, I think they need to rely on Jalen Brunson. Obviously, Luka's your main scorer, but you need the second, third tier scoring players to do their best. And I think Jalen, he's been really good, and if he can just continue to do what he's been doing and do it in the playoffs, then yeah, they definitely need him.
Yeah, obviously Luka Doncic is what this team runs through. So if Luka is not creating assists but creating turnovers, then this team is going to fail in that first round. Right now, the team chemistry looks great. After they lost Kristaps, I'm loving Dinwiddie. I'm loving seeing what Jalen Brunson's doing with his playmaking as well, because they were missing playmakers in these last couple of years, and Luka had to put the team all on his back in the past couple of years against the Clippers, and he was scoring his 40, 50-point games. Right now, his assist numbers are up. They're looking great. It's the highest it's ever been for him in his career because he has people who are actually making the shots that he's giving to him and dishing out. So right now, I'm loving what's going on with this team chemistry. It runs through Luka, but if people start missing their shots, I'm scared Luka's going to start getting into that mindset again where he's the only person on this team that can make plays. And that's when they're going to start falling behind in these games. Yeah,
they definitely, you have those 3 guards. You have Dinwiddie and Brunson. I think those are 2 players that you really do need to rely on. We're talking about Luka a lot here, so I want to talk about Luka because there's one thing that this team has relatively similar to the 2011 championship team, and that is a European superstar. And that, of course, is Luka Doncic. Caleb, look, I know it's early in his career, but Luka, can he have a better career than Dirk?
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, Luka, ever since he came in the league, he's been a dominant scorer. He's been really good. But obviously, he hasn't won any championships. That's not entirely his fault and everything. But based off of his play and everything, I think he can definitely surpass Dirk. But it would definitely be hard because Dirk, I mean, one of the greatest players of all time. So.
Yeah, I think easily Luka's got this in the bag to surpass Dirk as one of the best players of all time. But in terms of best Mavericks, I don't think he's going to steal the hearts of Dallas fans yet. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. But at the same time, if he leaves, then there's no way it's going to happen. I do believe Luka's kind of in that next tier of players, the young players who eventually are going to join each other to create super teams. You've got Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic. These guys are going to be those next Kevin Durant's, LeBron Jameses, where they're going to go out and build these teams somewhere else in a market where they believe they can put the team together with the right cap space, with the right supporting players. So if Luka leaves, he's definitely going to have a good chance at winning some championships, building up his resume to surpass Dirk as one of the best players of all time. Don't think he's going to be one of the best Mavericks of all time, though.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to steal the hearts of Dallas Maverick fans. I like to give hot takes. I think Luka can probably solidify himself as a top 5 player by the end of his career. And I know that's a hot take, but that's what I'm sticking with. And hey, we've got 3 games left this season for the Dallas Mavericks until they hit the postseason, where Luka can hopefully bring home a ring for the Dallas Mavericks. And coming up next, we're going to talk baseball is back. The Texas Rangers, they have a new look, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. Welcome back into Sports Zone. I am your host, Alec Rapp. We are just 2 days away from the start of baseball, which means we'll have diving catches, amazing strikeouts, we'll have deep fly balls into deep left field by Castellanos, and of course, we're going to get to see Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, as well as the new look Texas Rangers finally hit the diamond. And joining me now to discuss the Texas Rangers, I have AJ Tellers and James Carroll. How's it going, guys?
Good, ready to talk?
Yeah, can't wait to talk some baseball.
Absolutely.
Baseball, it's the best time of the year.
Absolutely.
You've got spring rolling around, you got the nice weather back, and you got baseball. So we start the year off against Toronto, up in Toronto. Headline, you got Vlad Guerrero Jr., you've got a ton of stars up there, you've got Bo, there's a lot of talent up there. I want to move back, though, to spring training, because obviously we had a 98-day hiatus, no spring training. Pitchers and catchers, they normally report the 15th of February. This year it was March 13th. AJ, is the lockout going to affect play?
Yeah, the biggest thing about spring training is it's all about getting your arms ready for opening day, getting at bats under your hitter's belt. And, different players really have a different quote on how many at bats and innings they want to get. But, you lost 2 weeks of spring training games, which means your pitchers got pushed back to when they're really ramping it up to get ready for the season. April is always a careful month for pitching staffs, but I think you're going to see a lot of managers be very, very careful with their starting pitching early in the season because you lost 2 weeks of games.
Yeah. Do you agree?
I don't really think it'll affect a whole lot because they're all in the same boat. All of them didn't get preparation. It was kind of like the NBA lockout a couple years ago, where we started on Christmas. Everybody was, sort of flown into it, or the bubble could be another example.
Yeah, I think the bubble's a good one. You look 2 years back, you have 60 games. Everybody was kind of thrown into it. I think overall, you're going to see baseball take a hit because they're not as prepared as they would be normally. But I do agree. I think it's something that is not going to affect it that much. But I do want to talk about our Rangers because they made some pretty big offseason acquisitions this year. Seager, Semien. I want to know, James, who are you most excited to watch?
I'm actually going to go with John Gray. Under the radar might not be the right word, but comparative when you have the most money spent in an off season ever, stuff like that does fly under the radar. John Gray's going to be a big addition to this team. It's no secret that pitching is the Rangers' weak suit. He's going to provide a lot of value at that position, and I think you'll really see that shine through when they go off of him, when he's having a rest day. I think this team's going to be a lot worse without him in the lineup. And Seager, also good.
Yeah, but beyond Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, also the two big acquisitions, John Gray's going to fit nicely with what this team can do going forward. But I love the Mitch Garver acquisition. Look, this is a guy I was very high on in Minnesota. You go back to the last, he's had some injury trouble, but you go back to the last time he played anywhere close to a full season, 100 games. 2019, he put up a quiet MVP caliber season in Minnesota, hitting the high 270s, 31 home runs at a premium position behind the plate. You plug in Marcus Semien and Corey Seager at the 2 and 3 spots in the lineup. Now you add Mitch Garver as your catcher. You're looking at a bona fide middle of the order lineup for Chris Woodward this season. And if those three players stay healthy, that's a really good 2, 3, 4 punch down the middle.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Corey Seager. I mean, you're talking the Rangers probably have the best middle infield in baseball. He's a guy that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. He was pretty good last year with the Dodgers. I think it's one of those moves that the Rangers, I think for years, fans had kind of been like, do something, and they finally did it. So I want to move on. Let's talk expectations, because the Rangers were terrible last year. 60-102, the third worst record in baseball. I think it's safe to say we have higher expectations this year. James, what are your expectations for the season?
Yeah, so these are for people like me who need everything translated into NBA terms. Think of it like the Charlotte Hornets. They're flashy, they're fun, they're not going to win a playoff series. We're going to lose a lot. We're probably going to get blown out by the big boys, your Padres, your Dodgers, but we're going to look good doing it. And, for a team that needs to sell some tickets in a relatively new stadium, sometimes that's all you can ask for.
Do you agree, AJ?
Yeah, this is a transition year. Look, the Seager and Semien acquisitions, I love them because they weren't brought here to be quick fixes. They're brought to be parts of this rebuild. They're signed on for 7 and 10 years. Yes. This American League West division is quietly one of the most compelling divisions. You look at the top 4 teams, the Astros, Angels, even the Mariners, I think, are just a level above the Angels. And for this Ranger team, best case scenario, you're looking at playing meaningful games down the stretch. You have some prospects that develop, but the pitching staff, there's still too many questions for this to be a legitimate contender, even with that third wild card team this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the Rangers probably win about 80 games. I think they go over 500. I think it's that 83 to 85. It's not going to
Never know.
It's not going to be very far over, but I think they're going to hit that mark. But, we're going to have to wait and see. Obviously, you mentioned the pitching staff isn't great. Hopefully, they can capitalize on the offseason acquisitions that they made. And coming up this past weekend, WrestleMania was here in the DFW, one of the biggest wrestling events in the world. So coming up, we're going to talk WrestleMania. Welcome back into Sportszone. I am your host, Alec Rapp. It was an action-packed weekend in the DFW with one of the biggest wrestling events in the world, WrestleMania, taking place with tons of celebrities, stunners, and just great moments all around. And joining me now to discuss WrestleMania, I have Mason Shepard and Jeremiah Russo. How's it going?
You know it, man.
I'm just playing. I'm still excited after that, man.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a great weekend.
Talk about a wrestling fan's, just dreams, man. It was awesome.
I mean, you have, it was 6 events in a
6
span of
events.
4
It was tiring,
days.
though.
It was tiring, but it was 100%
when
worth
you're a
it.
true wrestling fan, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Just
oh
like
my
they
God.
say with jobs, man, when it's like your favorite thing, it's not a job. It was just like us. We had some fun out there.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, you guys both were at some of the events this past weekend. I want to ask Mason the atmosphere. I know there's a lot of people that have probably never been to something like that before. What is the atmosphere like in an arena?
Well, wrestling fans, let me talk to you. The atmosphere, I've always told this to people, the atmosphere is like nothing you could ever experience. You're around a lot of people and they're all screaming, they're giving different reactions. Sometimes you meet some very interesting characters. I saw a guy in a bikini top once. It was one of those things where you just meet people from different walks of life and you can get their perspectives on how they feel about wrestling, and you get to connect with people, and then you get to connect with your favorite superstars. And it's just an atmosphere that if you haven't experienced at least once, you need to.
And you don't even need to know anything about wrestling. Like, we went literally yesterday.
Oh,
We had 10 guys behind us. Like,
they didn't know anything.
They're like,
didn't know what was going on.
They do that?
Can they
Who
do that?
is that?
Where's the ref?
So,
How did the ref
you don't
miss
have to
that?
know
Just
anything.
stuff like that.
You don't have to know anything. You can literally go out there, have some fun, enjoy it. I recommend to, you don't have to know anything. Just go out there, see what it's like, and just enjoy yourself.
Definitely. So we had some Hall of Fame ceremonies. We had some returns to the rings. We had some celebrity appearances. Jeremiah, I want to ask, what was your favorite moment from the weekend?
Now, it's going to be a match in my appearance, but I think the best moment was Logan Paul. And now I know we have a lot of discussion about Logan Paul. People hate him as a character, you know, but at the end of the day, you got to realize what this man can do, like to actually step up into this ring and do probably the most disrespectful thing, which was pull off Rey Mysterio's best friend's move, who's dead, and did it with the most disrespectful way. The atmosphere, electric. They were like, what the heck is going on? And they started booing him.
A true heel, Alec.
Now,
a true heel.
You think of like the hatred for people when we talk about Jordan and LeBron, like the debate on that. Imagine that like times 3. That was the reaction, and that honestly was my best moment because I was the idiot screaming, yes, come on, we gotta win this, count to 3. So that was me out there, and so that was just my favorite moment. It was just seeing that.
Yeah, you know, for me, my favorite moment, I'm an old school guy. Stone Cold came back, and not for just night 1, but for night 2 as well. And seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is a UNT alum, by the way, you know, so we should celebrate this man more. You know, he just, 3 words to describe Stone Cold: over like God. You know, it's one of those things where he walks out and, you know, I heard this saying, Stone Cold would go out there in the ring and sneeze for 20 minutes and the crowd will pop for him. So, you know, to see him deliver stunners to Mr. McMahon, Pat McAfee, Austin Theory, who sold it like crazy, and Kevin Owens on night 1, it was incredible. And that's something that I've gotten to see Stone Cold live before this, but even just watching this from, you know, my chair at home, it was something that I'll never forget.
So I want to talk about Pat McAfee because you brought him up, the former Colts punter. He had the Pat McAfee show. He expressed a ton of times on his show the past couple months he wanted to be a part of WrestleMania. What did you guys think of his performance?
Great. You know, Pat McAfee, one of the great things about him is that he grew up a wrestling fan. He was actually trained by WWE Hall of Famer Rip Rogers, and he has a wrestling ring in his house in Indianapolis. And you know, he like enjoys the promo aspect of it, and he's good at it. He enjoys the wrestling aspect, obviously, and he's good at that too.
Yeah,
like
just seeing him
he takes the
perform.
business seriously, and I always enjoy whatever Pat McAfee does.
I mean, you see him, and you know this is his dream. So it's not like he just woke up and was like, wrestling might be a nice thing to try out. No, this kid he's not a kid. He's not a kid. As a kid, you know, he's a kid in experience.
Yeah.
If you look at it, but at the same time, this dude literally jumped from the top rope, which is not that easy from the mat, and literally did a suplex. That's insane to do, especially just for like, you know, somebody who's not a regular. It's just
Definitely. There were a ton of celebrities there. Mason, who is your favorite celebrity?
Favorite celebrity, I'm going to have to go Logan Paul, only because I'm not giving Johnny Knoxville any credit.
See?
But Logan Paul, it was like what Russo touched on earlier. You know, the ability to be that much of a heel and a bad guy in front of all those people, and to get the reaction that he did, he had a great night, and I can't take that away from him, even though I may not care for him personally. So,
like I said, man, Logan Paul, everybody hates on him, but you got to give credit where credit is due. And
I think you're a Logan Paul fan in secret.
I'm not a Logan Paul fan. I'm a Logan Paul stan. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But that was amazing.
Look, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, unfortunately, there is no more WrestleMania. But North Texas football, we have our spring game this Saturday at 12 p.m. You can come out and see our newest recruits and transfers. Hopefully give us a little bit of hope for next season, but probably not. And if you're doing anything Thursday, make sure to come right back here for Thursday's edition of Sportszone. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, make sure to give us a follow at NTTV_sports. And don't go anywhere because coming up next is NTTV's Nightly News.